a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll?
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reifin. Welcome back. It's the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series as we continue the Speed Week's festivities here from Daytona. It's the Gatorade Twin Duels as we get set here under the lights at Daytona Beach for a couple of qualifying races here on a Sunday night. And start off for your starting lineup in duel number 1 of 2, as Ryan Newman in the 38 car is going to be your Daytona 500 pole sitter as long as he finishes this first duel without major damage. He starts first here in duel number 1 as we take you through the starting lineup for this first duel. Carl Edwards in the 19 car is going to start to his outside in second. Third place will be Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. Kurt Busch in fourth, and Juan Pablo Montoya in the 5th position. Sixth place is going to be Kevin Harvick. David Rudiman in the 7th spot. Clint Boyer will be P8, with 9th going to Jamie McMurray. DJ Kennington, defending Cup champion, starts in 10th. 11th is going to be Scott Wimmer in the 5 car with Matt Kenseth in 12th. He is your Bud Shootout winner in that 17. Casey Mears in the 99, 13th. Scott Riggs will be in 14th. Teammate JJ Yaley in 15th behind him, with Shane Meal, the rookie, in the 47 in 16th spot. Robbie Gordon will be in the 17th position with John Andretti in 18th. Jeff Burton will start 19th and Jeremy Mayfield in 20th. 21st goes to Bobby East in the 60. Ricky Craven will be 22nd. Tim Fadua in the 08, 23rd. Boris Said will be 24th in the 06. Carl Long for MBM in the 66 car, 25th place, with Ted Musgrave for front row. Not front row, furniture row, in 26th, and Bobby Gerhart in the 52 for Ware rounds out the field in 27th, 27 car field in both duels, duel number 1 and duel number 2, both with an even amount of cars. As we take you to the racetrack right away, it's most famous words in motorsports for the first of 2 times here tonight is Ryan Newman in the 38 car going to lead the field off on the start here tonight.
Drivers, start your
Field roars to life as we get set to roll here from Daytona. 45 laps in both duels for a total of 90. Over the course of tonight, a lot of action on the slate here as Ryan Newman will lead everybody off of the starting grid here tonight. 38 starts in first. Got his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. right behind him. Matt Kenseth in the 17 car took home the Bud Shootout win on Thursday night, and he starts a little bit further back in that 17 car. One race for his new team, and he's already got a checkered flag to his name. Coming out of turn 2 here. Going to be a fun one here tonight as we take a look at the race-ins, drivers who are going to be competing for a starting spot based on their starting position here tonight. As Shane Meal, Jeff Burton, Bobby East, Ricky Craven, Tim Fadoa, the 06 of Boris Said, Carl Long, Ted Musgrave, and Bobby Gerhardt are all fighting their way in. Top 3 of those drivers are going to advance via the transfer here tonight. 3 spots still to play for. 36 drivers total in duel number 1 and duel number 2 already locked in based on points provisional and the 6 fastest non-provisional times coming into Daytona here tonight. But Newman and Edwards are going to lead the field here off of turn number 4 and to the green. A couple of drivers in the second year with their respective teams. Going to be on the front row here tonight. It's a pair of Yates cars on the bottom to lead the field to the green flag. Saw a lot of aggressive driving, a late race yellow in the Bud Shootout leading up to this race. Gonna be aggressive, gonna see a lot of 3 wide, gonna see a lot of rubbing doors. Green flag is in the air. First duel is underway here from Daytona as we race for qualifying position here tonight. Off of turn 4 and up to speed now as Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 machine takes over the race lead right away from his teammate Newman. Newman's just got to finish this thing clean in order to be on pole for the Daytona 500 next Sunday. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the lead, Montoya second. Junior's teammate David Rudiman in the 28 car sits in the 3rd position. Single file down the backstretch for just a little bit here. See if anybody jumps out. It'll be Montoya in the 84 as the 2 Yates cars are going to get stuck on that outside lane. While the 84 of Montoya, single career win in a points race to his name. Already in his career coming at Talladega. He knows his way around these super speedways. He'll lead a lap, but here comes McMurray in the 40 on the bottom. Trying to make it another leader in a row. Lap number 3. Number 99 of Mears is going to get aggressive on the bottom, and here comes Casey down low. Mears, one of the big storylines that we mentioned, was not in the Bud Shootout, making the switch over to Yates, or excuse me, not to Yates, to Roush. Kind of stumbling all over my words here tonight, but nonetheless, Mears at Roush this season in the 99 car for them, previously the 17. That number now with Red Bull Racing and Kenseth taking it with him, as well as that Duels sponsorship. But Mears in this Dish Ford had a great season in the 55 for Hendrick last year, and now finds himself in another good opportunity for Roush, who has really recovered well from their struggles in the mid-2Ks. Now, last year had a great end to the 2007 campaign, both Biffle and Kenseth, who were just so fast at the end of that year. But J.J. Yaley, another young man on the bottom of the racetrack here. He's going to get aggressive real quick and move underneath the fellow Ford, try and take away the lead. Jeff Burton, one of the race-ins, couple of race-ins behind this 10. Burton and that 60 of Bobby East for Haas C&C on the bottom there. Edwards, the outside pole sitter in this race, moves to the bottom. A lot of 3 wide early. Drivers are trying to move around quick here in tonight's showing. right now it is the 8, the 60, and I believe the 1 car of Ricky Craven, who currently hold those transfer spots. As mentioned, of the drivers who are racing in, the top 3 from both duels are going to advance to the main show. Single file down the backstretch for the top 6. Carl Edwards in the 19 is going to jump down underneath of Bobby East. No move by Jeff Burton in the 8 to try and pass Yaley, who is trying to lead another lap in a row here. Edwards with a great recovery from that start on the outside lane. Moves all the way up to 3rd now, and he's right away going to jump underneath the fellow Chevrolet, side by side for the 2nd position behind Yaley, who's got a good hold of this field right now. Saw 1 car already out of the draft. That was the 66 of Carl Long for his new team, MBM. Tim Fadowa in the 08 is just about hanging on to the back of the draft at the moment. Down the backstretch, the leaders go. Edwards into the 2nd spot, side by side for 3rd between Burton and that 1 of Ricky Craven behind. See the 06 of Boris Said also in the mix. Bobby Gerhardt in the Ware 52 also making an appearance on that bottom line, running pretty well at the moment. Another lap led for J.J. Yaley in a row, in control of this field pretty comfortably at the moment. Edwards being patient with him. Lap number 7 for Yaley, who signed a brief extension with PPC to run this 10 car this year. Of course, Yaley, one of the most promising young men in the Cup Series last year, had a really outstanding season in a campaign that a lot of people didn't have a lot of lofty expectations for that 10 team. Well, with it being purchased from Roush by the PPC organization. But that team as a whole just had a great 2007 and especially finished that year off strong. What with the win for Scott Riggs coming at Road Atlanta and Yaley continuing to have top 10 runs. That's a team that's built a lot of momentum over the last couple of seasons. And for Riggs, who collected a couple of poles and a win last year, and Yaley, who was very competitive over the course of that season, also making some statements here the last 10 or so weeks of that 2007 campaign, and Yaley led a couple laps in a row here, has a strong race car going into speed weeks here. Carl Edwards in the 19 just took the lead from him. 2nd year for Edwards with Gibbs. One of the strongest organizations in this series, and you see Bobby Gerhardt getting forced up to the top. Meanwhile, Jeremy Mayfield in that 44 for Petty down to the bottom side underneath Edwards. He's going to try to take away the lead. Edwards led that last lap. Transfer spots swap hands now as the 78 to 47 move into transfer spots. It's going to be Musgrave and Shane Meal. Bobby Gerhardt in that 52 does still have a transfer spot on the outside at the moment. Still a lot of racing left to go. 45 lapper here in duel number 1 as John Andretti in the 21 car going to jump underneath. Looking for that race lead, but Musgrave in that 78 getting aggressive here, and here comes the Furniture Row 78 entry on the bottom. Shane Meal almost went 3 wide up the middle as they're side-by-side for the race lead. But Musgrave is going to find himself a lap led, but not for long as Shane Meal, one of the other promising young men in this series now. Rookie in that 47 going to take away the lead potentially, though Riggs getting aggressive, and he's going to force it 3 wide. One of the other drivers of this PPC organization, we mentioned that it just looks so promising over the last handful of weeks of 2007. And Riggs, who collected his first career Cup victory at Road Atlanta last year, finds his way to the front, but another big story is going to jump underneath of him. Scott Wimmer moved to Hendrick this year, taking over that 5, previously driven by Ricky Hendrick. And he's going to take away the race lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr., leader of the opening lap in tonight's race, moves into 2nd. But for Wimmer, it's a bit of a complicated story with that Hendrick organization. Pretty big downsize for them this year. Of course, they closed the 44 for the final third of the 2007 season. Well, with Brian Vickers in that entry. And then they closed the 2nd car, and it was the 5 team that they closed. And ended up converting that to a part-time entry. That is the 25 for Denny Hamlin this year, as McMurray, big block on that for Clint Boyer down the backstretch here. But Wimmer moved over to Hendrick, and it's technically the 55 team of last year that he's piloting right now, what with the State Farm sponsorship and the owner's points as well. But for Wimmer in that 5 car, that is technically the 55. Doesn't matter either way. Wimmer's in a Hendrick car and trying to make a statement this year. It's been a bit of an interesting campaign for Wimmer over the last couple of seasons, really struggling to find his footing for Bill Davis and that 23 team. And so many chances that Wimmer, one of the more promising young drivers in the Cup Series, tried to get that first career win. He had so many different shots at it, just never came to be. He's found himself an interesting opportunity here in this 5 car. Hendrick looking to bounce back from a rough 2007 for the most part, especially for their secondary entries. It's kind of a complete half-and-half story for Hendrick Motorsports over the course of 2007, what with Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson combining for a handful of wins, and the 55, 5, and 44 having a lot of struggles over that year, especially the 44 not being in the top 30 and owners getting shut in the middle of the year. Mears, despite the fantastic season he had for the most part, had a lot of DNFs down the stretch. And that was the result of the 55 tailing off towards the end of the year. And, of course, Ricky Hendrick had a real rough season in terms of finishing races himself. He was plagued by those DNFs. That entire trio of teams really just struggled to finish races over the course of the 2007 season. But Wimmer has himself an opportunity here in 2008, and he takes over that 5 car, led a couple laps. But here comes the 4. Yet another story. Clint Boyer in the 4 car trying to take away the race lead, as Morgan McClure, previously aligned with Richard Childress, makes it 3 alliance partners in 3 seasons here in the Cup Series. Was Hendrick in 2006, Richard Childress in 2007, and has now switched OEM over to the other half of the GM stable. It's a Pontiac team now, this 4 car. And they're aligned with Red Bull Racing coming into this season. Boyer coming off of some promising runs in 2006 and 7. And trying to build off of some momentum, had some good runs over the course of that year. A lot of inconsistency was the big struggle for this 4 team. And one can wonder if that's going to stay the case, what with the switch of manufacturer. So it'll be interesting to see how this 4-team season goes. Kurt Busch, last year's Daytona 500 winner, out in the race lead now, lap number 15 at the stripe for the 01. Robbie Gordon in the 31 right behind him for Childress. Couple more underdogs showing their nose up front. You see the one of Ricky Craven, that 08 of Fadowa, towards the top of the table now. Top 5 or so single file out down the backstretch. A little bit of 3 wide in the midfield. You see Kennington 91 caught up in there. Bobby East getting a little aggressive. Almost took it 4 wide, but did not quite have the room to do so. Boyer gets filtered up to the outside as well. Side by side for the race lead is Kurt Busch and Robbie Gordon. Duel it out here at the top of the table. Robbie Gordon takes away the lead from the 01 of Busch. Busch found a lot of help there on the outside. Stayed with Robbie Gordon. That one of Craven right up the back bumper. Fadowa, who's kind of holding up the bottom there just a little bit, gets filtered 3 wide. That pulls the 8 of Jeff Burton down to the bottom side. Gordon still not with a lot of help despite his teammate in line behind him, Kurt Busch, hanging tight on that top. Out about a half a car length on Robbie Gordon going into 3. Tight mix up front, but the 8 is going to pull up to the back of his teammate here. So Robbie Gordon clear out of the tri-oval here down the front stretch. Jeff Burton thinking about it on the bottom of his teammate. But Robbie is just barely going to find a way in front of that 8. Down the back stretch, couple of RCR Chevrolets up front. You see Bobby East taking a look to the bottom of Jeff Burton down the back stretch, and he's going to find that gap to do so. David Rudiman, who we mentioned just once tonight, he's 3rd in line on the bottom. Matt Kenseth, the Bud Shootout winner, haven't had a chance to mention him in terms of battling for the lead just yet. Now he's found his way up towards the front of this field, but Bobby East in the 60 going to jump underneath of Robbie Gordon on the front stretch. Now he's going to look for the race lead. Lap traffic up the road, that's Carl Long in the 66. As we mentioned, the only car to have lost the draft so far tonight. Might soon fall a lap down. It's about half the backstretch in front of the race leader, Bobby East, as Rudimann's going to get filtered up by the Pontiac of Matt Kenseth on the bottom. Yaley with him, led a couple laps already tonight. Shane Meal, mentioned him a couple times, he's on the bottom. But Bobby East takes a lap lead in the 60 car now. Now, if I'm not mistaken, with the duels, usually you can expect potentially a pit stop if this race does go green all the way. Could shake things up pretty considerably. Down the backstretch, East in the draft of the 66 of Long, as he's going to go to the bottom with the lap car here going into turn number 3. Kenseth follows him. Kenseth gave him a little bit of room, actually, and East way out in front of the rest of the field after they picked up Long. East just kind of picked it up and went past that 66. A lot of the rest of the field kind of got dragged back. So that strings it out just a little bit. Kenseth going to have a big run here on this 60 car as we head through turns 1 and 2. Not a lot of place to go with it as they come off of the corner. Let's see if he's got a chance down the back stretch here. And he is going to find the way to the bottom side. Timed it up just right. Shane Meal goes with him. Edwards up to the top with Yaley. Harvick, the 20. Haven't had a chance to mention him yet tonight. He goes to the bottom. Field strung out pretty considerably thanks to Carl Long. But Kenseth out to the lead here in turn number 1, approaching halfway in this first duel. Shane Meal and East holding transfer spots. Boris Said and the 52 of Bobby Gerhardt side by side for the last transfer at the moment. Field pretty significantly split up at the moment, but leaving turn 4. Kenseth still with the lead. Shane Meal, the rookie, right behind him. It's a good chance to talk about that 47 car. Shane Meal made a couple of part-time starts with the newly formed Cup operation for Innovative Motorsports. And this year making his Cup Series full-time debut, as Kevin Harvick going to jump underneath him for the second position. But Shane Meal doing the full Cup campaign for his long-time head operating team, as he has driven for Innovative as long as we can remember, since 2003. He's been a member of that team, and just now finally making his Cup Series debut. Has been with them in the Grand National Series for quite a long time over the course of his career, won plenty of races with them, and Innovative makes the jump to Cup. And Shane Meal, after doing last year part-time with that 47 team, making the move to full-time in 2008. It's an exciting young proposition for that team as they take over this 2008 campaign. Single file through to about 6. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 down on that bottom side. Matt Kenseth in the 17 car still out in the lead, but he's got Harvick right behind him, and the 20 is going to try and end that streak. Man, poor Stead tried to throw a block there on Musgrave's 78. Ted Musgrave said no thank you, went underneath in a hurry, and he's going to try to move into the 3rd position. Maybe even 2nd if he can clear Kenseth. Harvick with the lead coming out of turn number 4. And he takes his first lap lead of the night. Gibbs not looking too terribly strong over the course of this race so far. Kennington in that 81 car has barely even seen the top 5 tonight. And Harvick hadn't seen it until he got up here just a couple of laps ago. So a little bit of struggles here in duel number 1 for Joe Gibbs, aside from Carl Edwards starting in that second position. Net P3 for the 500. It was showing some strength over the course of this race, but maybe starting to come alive a little bit later as Kevin Harvick finds his way into the lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. Back to the back bumper of the 20 as we leave turn 4. Montoya into the 3rd position, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to cross up Harvick for first. Riggs getting forced out to the high side by Newman in the 38. The pole sitter trying to see what he's got running up front, but Dale Earnhardt Jr., his teammate, now into the race lead. Down the backstretch, Montoya behind the 88. See if he can get down in front of Newman. He can't. 2 Yates teammates trying to take away first and now second. And Newman follows through behind Earnhardt Jr. He slots in behind his teammate. 20 laps to go here from duel number 1. Plenty past halfway now and continuing to log laps. Down the backstretch, Jeff Burton in the 8's going to get aggressive as he jumps down to the bottom underneath of the Yates duo, trying to split this pairing up. But Junior going to lead another lap, and Jeff Burton is going to get taken side by side for second himself as Clint Boyer once again finds his way into the fray. Kurt Busch, who has led in this race, also into the mix on the bottom. But Boyer gotta get aggressive and force the issue, and he gets underneath of Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the lead down the backstretch. Busch himself showing the nose, maybe gonna give Boyer a taste of his own medicine. That's the question. Boyer's gonna manage to keep him at bay as they head into turn 3. Boyer holding everybody off. Kurt Busch up to the top. Robbie Gordon takes his place. There's that 81 of DJ Kennington. 2007 Cup champion finally finds his way into the top 5. And Robbie Gordon jumps underneath of Clint Boyer. But Robbie Gordon himself now going to get taken side by side for the lead as DJ Kennington in the 81 moves to the bottom. And Kennington, for the first time here tonight, has finally found himself into the lead. Shane Meal in the second position at the moment. McMurray, who I don't believe I've said his name all night, he's in the 3rd position now. Yaley 4th, and it'll be Bobby East in the 60 in 5th once he clears Robbie Gordon. Kennington has his first lap led on the night. Couple of Chevrolets, a Dodge, and then a Ford. Be 15 to go in duel number 1. Next time by, 61. And hard to tell who has the next transfer spot after that. They are all quite a long way back. I believe it's Bobby Gerhart and... Actually, excuse me, 47 is also a race in. So it'll be the 47-60 and the 1 is Shane Meal going to jump underneath of Kennington for the race lead. Yaley with him. And Shane Meal finds himself to the front, but Yaley going to jump underneath of him, and he almost got taken 3 wide, not quite. Shane Meal leads the lap, but here comes Yaley, one of the quickest cars at tonight's race, trying to take away that first position. Yaley out to first. Bobby East into the second position. See if that 60 can maybe sneak underneath of the 10 for the lead. And he did. Yaley drops out of the lead. It's Bobby East in the Haas CNC 60 down to the bottom trying to take first. Ricky Craven in the 1, gonna get aggressive, forces East, and the 60 ends up in the middle. Here comes Ricky Craven trying to take away the race lead. Phoenix racing down to the bottom. And they are getting dicey up front. Here comes a 28, David Rudeman trying to take away the lead. 3 wide up front. Everybody against everybody. Rudeman takes away the top spot. Edwards and then Mayfield. Gerhardt in the 52 moves into the top 5. 3 abreast in the midfield. Edwards almost got underneath the Rudeman, couldn't quite pull it off. Down the backstretch, top 3 single file. Mears pulling into frame in the 99. He takes Andretti with him, but he's going to jump underneath. Meanwhile, Mayfield for second. Rudeman, the last-minute replacement for Martin Truex Jr. in that 28 car, penned to run that thing full-time in this 2008 season, making a statement lead right now. Mayfield P2, Mears 3rd, Andretti 4th, and Kenseth now 5th. Down the backstretch. Mears into 99, jumps low. The 44 of Mayfield tried to block him, couldn't do it. Mears with the aggressive move. Kenseth going behind his previous car, pushes Mears up to second. Couple of Fords up front now. Harvick in line, as well as Boyer in the 4 with a recovery. Lap traffic not a thought just yet. Rudeman still in the lead as they head into turn number 1. Mears trying to get underneath of the 28, couldn't do it. Top 4 single file down the backstretch. Who blinks first? Mears to the bottom. Covers the 17 of Kenseth, and the 99 takes away first place in turn 3. Bud Shootout winner Kenseth with the 99. Double file through the field as they head down the front stretch. 10 laps to go in duel number 1. Kenseth trying to get underneath the 99. Mears covers him again. Another beautiful block by the 99. Mears playing a dangerous game with that 17. Harvick, Boyer, then said. And Kenseth is going to get underneath of the 99. Boyer goes with him. Couple of Pontiacs and Alliance teammates on the bottom. Musgrave, the 78, into the mix. You see Riggs finding his way into this top 10 once again. Boyer almost taking Kenseth 3 wide. Didn't find the hole. 3 wide behind him as the 78 ends up in the middle. Kenseth trying to block Mears. Boyer gets underneath of him. Down the backstretch, the 4 of Boyer out into the race lead. Riggs, the 57, trying to find his nose underneath of the 4, and he's going to do just that. Riggs grabs first, and we're going to see our first pit stops of the night as Jeff Burton leads the first group down pit road. 3 race-ins in this group, the 8, the 60, and the 1, all hit pit lane. We are going to see our green flag pit stops here from Daytona. Riggs out front. Couple of Red Bull cars in line behind him. It's the 84 of Montoya, the 17 of Kenseth. Kenseth going to jump underneath his teammate. Riggs to the bottom side. Carl Long in the 66 in front. Going to see more pit stops here. Kenseth heads to pit road. Boyer heads with him. The 01, the 06, the 88, and the 38. Couple of teammates. Carl Long in the 66. The lap car went into pit road in front of the leaders. Riggs still out in front as the top 5 now break away. Single file up front as they leave turn 2. You see McMurray, who had a pretty rough pit stop a long way out behind the 81. This could hold this top 5 up just a little bit with McMurray slow if they're going to plan to pit here. Robbie Gordon's going to jump underneath of Scott Riggs. But he's going to get held by the 40. Riggs uses him as a pick. Mears pits. The rest of the top 5 don't. Riggs a long way out in front by himself. 3 wide in the middle is McMurray. Lappers leaving pit road. You see Ryan Newman, the Daytona 500 pole sitter, off of the pit lane. Riggs still by himself at the moment. Rest of the field works around the 38, though I do believe the 78 and the 08 kind of had to jump back down and behind that 38 to get to pit road, but they're going to hit the pits this time. Scott Riggs and the rest of the field, the rest of the race leaders are going to hit pit road with 6 to go, taking 5 at the stripe. Question becomes, if they win this race off of pit road, 5 to go in duel number 1. Riggs in that 57 car on pit lane. Shorter pit stops for some of these race leaders thanks to the fact that they went long. Riggs, a long hold in the pits. Robbie Gordon in the 31 gets off of pit road first. Long hold for the 19 of Edwards as well. John Andretti leading the drivers who have already hit the pit lane here in this race. Carl Long, a lap car in the 66. Races off of the pits. Robbie Gordon with the shorter pit stop may very well hold the lead, but he might be by himself. Andretti, Mayfield, and Kenseth working around the 08. Mayfield takes advantage of that gap, gets underneath of the 21. Top 3 isolated at the moment. It's Gordon, Montoya, and Harvick. We'll see if the 44, 21, and 17 have a chance to catch up. I do believe that move by Mayfield really cost these two a lot of time. As of right now, your cars currently in the show, the 78, the 8, 52, and 60 side by side for the last spot in at the moment. A lot of cars that are racing into this show in the middle of that main big pack. But they are a long way out of the lead. And meanwhile, Robbie Gordon has lost the lead to Kevin Harvick, coming to 3 to go. Long the 66, a member of this group, a lap car. Montoya in the 84 moves to second. Tim Fato on a spot to make the show right now. Currently him, Burton, and the 60. Down the backstretch, move for the race lead. Montoya under Harvick. Gordon trying to find out which way to go. He gets stuck on the top. Mayfield follows through on the bottom. Does he have a run to make a move on Montoya for first? 2 to go at the line. The 84 into the race lead. Burton with the top transfer spot right now in the 8. Montoya, Mayfield, then Robbie Gordon down the backstretch. Andretti in the mix as well. Gordon underneath the 44. Andretti forced up top. Can Montoya hold this field off for one more lap? Can Kenseth go back-to-back in Speed Weeks? Is it going to be Robbie Gordon in the 31, maybe Harvick in the 20? Out of turn 4 for the final time. White flag in duel number 1 is waving for Juan Pablo Montoya. Boris Said into a transfer spot. Shane Meal trying to find one. Bobby East in danger. Same for the 8 of Jeff Burton. Kenseth maybe with a chance to seal it for his teammate. Down the backstretch for the final time. Top 4 single file. Who blinks first? Kenseth jumps underneath of the 31. This is the finish to Gatorade duel number 1. Montoya trying to hold off his teammate. Kenseth trying to go back-to-back. Looking like he sealed it for Red Bull. It'll be a 1-2 in duel number 1. They're racing back to the line for the transfer spot. Jeff Burton versus Boris Said. I have no idea which one of them got it. Burton by inches. Although, tell you what, I do believe that was second and third. And it would be. Take a look at your finishing order. Shane Meal, Jeff Burton, and the 06 of Boris Said advance into the Daytona 500. And Juan Pablo Montoya, your winner of duel number 1, as Red Bull has swept so far in Speed Weeks. The 84 takes the checkered flag here tonight in duel number 1. Duel number 2 coming up in just a moment here. But it's Juan Pablo Montoya who takes duel number 1. Still another 45 laps left on the slate. But Montoya in the 84 car is going to be the winner of duel number 1. It's a 1-2 for Red Bull in duel number 1 as Montoya, the 84, takes home the checkered flag. We'll take you to a long intermission here, take you to a little bit of a break. It's the Duels at Daytona, the Gatorade Duels, here on NASCAR on ESPN. I've been your host, Caden Reif. We'll catch you in just a little bit. Take you to intermission. We'll be right back here from Daytona. And we are back from intermission here at Daytona, getting set for race number 2 here tonight, as it is going to be Tony Stewart in the 42 car on pole for duel number 2 as he sits in the first position. Brad Coleman in the 6, an impressive Cup Series debut start here tonight. Going to be on the outside pole in duel number 2 as he sits in the second position at P4 in that number 6 for Roush. Jeff Gordon in the 24 machine. He's going to be in third place, and Bobby Labonte's number 18 will be in fourth. Brad Keselowski in fifth. Denny Hamlin in the 25 car making his Cup Series debut as well. He'll be in sixth. Seventh place is going to be Greg Biffle in the 16, as Elliott Sadler starts in eighth. Jason Leffler will be in ninth. Jimmy Johnson rounding out the top 10 in duel number 2 as Casey Atwood sits in 11th. 12th place is going to be Scott Steckley in the 23, making his full-time Cup debut at the very least. Made some starts for Roush last year. Morgan Shepherd, all the way up in 13th at 89, put his race car in this race on speed. Doesn't even have to worry about racing into this thing. Marcos Amber's going to be behind him in 14th. Todd Cleaver in 15th. John Wood will be in the 16th position in the 49 car. Kyle Busch in 17th. Andrew Ranger in the 45 for Petty in 18th. Todd Bodine in 19th. Casey Kane will be in the 20th spot. 21st goes to Eric Norris. 22nd will be Ricky Hendrick in the 02 for Penske. But a dire situation for that 02 car, as he's going to be one of the race-ins here tonight. Reed Sorensen will be in 23rd. 24th is the 7 of Chad McCumbee. Tony Raines in the 34 for Front Row. He's 25th. 26 is Jeff Green for Rab Racing in the 29. And rounding out the field in the back row, Jack Sprague in the 27th position for the 71 team, as we get set to roll here in duel number 2, another 45 lapper set to come your way here as we take you trackside for the most famous words in motorsports for the second time here tonight.
Drivers, start your engines!
Field roars to life as we get set to roll. Stewart on the front row. It was a heartbreak last season for that 42 team, came up just short of the 2007 Cup Championship. But he is going to start first, the outside pole sitter here from Daytona, providing he finishes clean here tonight. Brad Coleman, big story for that 6 team, starting in the second position. It's another part-time campaign for the Roush 6 and Cup. Coleman making the move from Aikens to Roush in the Grand National Series. And he's making some select Cup Series starts this year and gets the opportunity to pilot the 6 in the Daytona 500. And he set the 4th fastest qualifying time on Friday, putting that 6 car in the second position in duel number 2. Jeff Gordon, the 24, in that third position, and Bobby Labonte in 4th. Brad Keselowski is a bright spot for Penske as a whole, who had a real rough qualifying on Friday night, as the 12th car of Casey Kane qualified 40th fastest in that 12, and Ricky Hendrick was outside the top 42 on speed coming into this weekend. We touched on it in the Bud Shootout, how Penske was feeling okay being able to rest coming into this race, given they didn't put any of their cars into the Bud Shootout, but it ended up being a real detriment for them. Didn't get a lot of track time compared to some of these drivers, the competitive teams at the top of the table, who have ran a lot better than them. And of course, a real rough qualifying effort for Penske, and one of their cars not guaranteed into the Daytona 500, what with Ricky Hendrick, that 02 car that was part-time last year. Pace car in on the left. It's Daytona for duel number 2, as Tony Stewart leads the field to the green, and we are underway for the second time here tonight. Up to speed now, and Tony Stewart's going to break the trend. The 42 car going to be the first car this week to qualify on the pole for his respective event and lead the opening lap. Brad Coleman in that 6, putting up a challenge on that top side, but not going to be able to hold steadfast with that 42 down on the bottom. Jeff Gordon in the 24 back behind him. Field deadlocked at the moment as we leave turn 2 this time. Coleman got a lot of speed in that 6 car up on the top side. And he's hanging tough on that top. Tony Stewart really trying his best to clear that 6. But Coleman just not giving way, trying to fight with him on that outer line. Stewart just able to lead both of those laps, but that 6 car really finding some speed, and Bobby Labonte doing a great job pushing him on that top. And Stewart going to get taken 3 wide here as Jeff Gordon moves underneath of him. Topside finally falls into disarray as Stewart gets forced 3 wide. Keselowski on the bottom, pushing Jeff Gordon out to the race lead. Down the backstretch and into turn number 3 as Jeff Gordon in the 24 leads the field here. And he grabs his first lap lead of the night. Down the backstretch, Jeff Gordon going to lose the bottom side to Brad Keselowski, who goes down there by himself, at least for the moment. But Sadler in the 83 is going to find his way to the bottom. Red Bull with an entrant in this race, so they could theoretically continue to sweep this Speed Weeks with another one of their cars in this event, make it 3 in a row, and all 3 different cars if they were to take the checkered flag here tonight. See Morgan Shepherd down there on that 89 on the bottom. As mentioned, that 89 of Shepherd qualified into the Daytona 500 on speed in Friday qualifying. Doesn't even have to worry about where he finishes in this one as long as he keeps it clean. Of course, doesn't matter even if he crashes out, just going to have to go to a backup car. But Morgan Shepherd, we got the chance to talk to him before the races here on Sunday night, and Shepherd said, qualifying my own car into Daytona on speed, it is the biggest achievement of my career. He was absolutely ecstatic. We love talking to Morgan down in the garage, one of the most well-respected, long-tenured drivers in NASCAR, and he puts his own entry in here tonight. And now just racing for a starting spot in this race. And it's got to be a big stress reliever for that 89 to not have to worry about where you finish, other than where you're going to start the Daytona 500. And he is off to a good start here tonight. 4th in line on the bottom as Jeff Gordon and Keselowski side-by-side for the lead still to lead that last lap. Jeff Gordon at 24 hanging tough on that outside. Seeing that outside lane work pretty well here in duel number 2 in comparison to duel 1, which we didn't really see a lot of that. We have seen it at Speed Weeks before. This is the first time that it's really been tight for these race leaders, and Jeff Gordon, that 24, are going to be the second straight outside leader to really hang with the race leader on the bottom. But starting to split up as Atwood gets forced 3 wide, but and Gordon got a big run there, and Elliott Sadler in the 83 takes it 3 wide off into turn 1. Keselowski caught in the middle. Stewart trying to follow up the middle behind that too. And they are 3 deep up front down the back stretch. Shepherd getting forced up the racetrack. A little bit of contact between him and Stewart. Potentially, they managed to sort it out almost 4 wide. As Kyle Busch in the 43 got real aggressive there on the backstretch. Shepherd almost got forced 4 wide. Could have been disastrous. I believe he did trade paint with the 42 of Stewart. Keselowski trapped on the top, up and off of turn number 2 as Sadler in the 83 has the race lead. Jason Leffler's 00 right behind him. Morgan Shepherd into the 3rd position in that 89 car. Really, just such an impressive run for Morgan going on right now. A lot of 3 wide early. We saw a lot of that in duel number 1, with the field really getting bunched up tight. A lot of drivers trying to make some headway early. Down the backstretch, top 5 single file. Kyle Busch is going to be the first to jump low. And Jason Leffler in the 00 is going to get underneath of Elliott Sadler for the race lead. Trying to take that top spot. And Leffler leads his first lap of the night. Kyle Busch down on the bottom trying to take the lead, but Marcos Ambrose going to take it 3 wide. Another big aggressive move up front. We've seen a lot of those in Duel 2. And Ambrose, who had a pretty impressive run in the Bud Shootout this Thursday, moves his way up into the lead, takes Todd Bodine with him. Casey Kane in that 12. Finally finding his way up towards the front of the field here tonight. And Eric Norris in the 51 with him. And then Ricky Hendrick in that 02. Needing a good run in tonight's race also up front now. But Ambrose out to the race lead. Just seeing so much 3 wide up front right now. This duel just real aggressive at the moment. And Kane going to force the 77, his Alliance teammate, that Jasper 77 of Bodine, up the track. Ricky Hendrick going to get underneath of Eric Norris and try to pull up to the back bumper of his teammate. Ambrose in control of the field at the moment. But now he's got the Penske duo behind him. Just want to make sure that the ticker didn't update, and it is not. So, Ambrose in the lead. Continues to hold that top spot. 3 consecutive race-in cars in a row. Actually, 5 of them, I would have to say. It's the 02, 45, 7, 96, and then the 29, as Kane is going to jump low on Ambrose down the backstretch. Ricky Hendrick didn't coordinate it, so Ranger in the 45 down to the bottom to follow Kane through. Teammate split. And Casey Kane leads his first lap here in Daytona. .12:45.7 clear out front. And you see Reed Sorensen in the 96 there, another driver worth talking about. Sorensen for Hall of Fame, who really seemed to be at their dying breath at the end of the 2007 campaign. Struggles with Craven in that race car. Made the switch to Chevrolet, have some technical support from Hendrick Motorsports this year, and Reed Sorensen was put into that race car to make his full-time Cup Series debut, and making his Cup Series debut in general here tonight. First ever Cup start for him, providing he qualifies for the Daytona 500. Scheduled to be full-time this year is at 96. And Sorensen, one of the rookies in this year's Cup Series season. Still 4 race-ins in a row. And the 29 car, that is a brand new entry, Jeff Green in the 29 for Rab Racing. Debut for that team with Green in the 29 car this weekend. trying to qualify for the Daytona 500 in their first ever Cup Series appearance. And Jeff Green finds third place underneath the 45 of Ranger. Kane continuing to log laps. It's Chad McCumbee in the 7 for Germain right behind him. Kane still out front down the front stretch as Jimmy Johnson in the 48 is going to make his presence known, and he gets underneath of the 12 of Kane for the lead. Johnson out front, Kyle Busch in the 43 with a chance down low. But Ambrose in that 13, a quick recovery after losing the lead earlier in the show. He's going to move to second place. But Johnson into the lead. Ambrose to second. It's Ricky Hendrick in the 0-2 in third. As we head through turns 1 and 2 and now down the backstretch, Johnson still with first. See what Ambrose does here, or if it's going to be someone else who jumps to the bottom, and it will. Ricky Hendrick in the 0-2 takes the run underneath of Ambrose for the second spot. Down the front stretch, Johnson with the lead. Ricky Hendrick coming up on his longtime ex-teammate now into the second spot. They're 3 wide for second place, at least for a moment, behind the 2 leaders as Kane maybe pulling up to give his teammate a little bit of assistance. See if Hendrick makes the move on the 48, looking like Johnson's going to hold that top spot. Another circuit through as they head into turn 3 this time. Not a lot of help for Hendrick out back as Kane just now pulling up to the back bumper of his teammate. Has a big run though, might have to take it. And he was forced to block Kyle Busch in the 43 who got aggressive underneath of him. So Kane underneath of his teammate for second as Johnson continues to lead. But Kane gets underneath of the 48. Quick recovery for this 12. Kyle Busch again finds his way to the bottom as well. So they're side by side up front. Busch trying to force the issue. Can he show the nose underneath of Kane? I think Johnson might have just got the wall there as Kane was kind of pinching him tight on the backstretch, but 12 car takes away first. So Casey Kane into the lead. Kyle Busch in second. Third place now belongs to Sprague. That's another new entry, TRG, in that third position with the 71 car. And then you have John Wood in the 49 and Denny Hamlin in the 25, making up your top 5 at the moment. Wood first to jump out of line. Kyle Busch goes with the fellow Dodge as he gets underneath the Kane for first. Coming up shortly in a couple of laps on the halfway mark in duel number 2. But Kyle Busch out to the lead. Couple of race-ins up towards the front of the field. John Wood in that 49, that 71 car of Jack Sprague. Rest of them find their way mostly towards the back. Although the 02 and Eric Norris in the 51 on that outside lane, dropping backwards. One car at the back of the field struggling to keep pace with the draft. That's Tony Raines in the front row 34. Kyle Busch going to make it another lap led in a row. Halfway here in Daytona in duel number 2. It's Busch, Keselowski, and then the 89 of Shepard, who's going to try to take second place from that 2 car. Morgan Shepard down to the bottom. He takes the second position. Jeff Gordon showing some front end underneath of him, though, and he forces Shepard up to the top side. Huge block from Jeff Gordon, but could not cover the 06 of Brad Coleman. An aggressive move. Gordon almost turned himself on the backstretch trying to get in front of that 6, but Coleman gets the nose underneath of Jeff Gordon, but Elliott Sadler maybe trying to take him 3 wide up the middle, couldn't do it. Kyle Busch continuing to lead. Coleman again trying to get aggressive, but Busch covers him off. 43.683. Down out of turn 2 and down the backstretch now. And Coleman, outside pole sitter in tonight's race, is going to jump underneath of Kyle Busch and end the reign of that 43 car. And Coleman, the part-timer for Roush, takes away the lead. Atwood in the 30, who had a rough go-around in 2007, the only Childress car in this second duel, finds his way to P2. Coleman trying to figure out which lane to block, keeping Kyle Busch at bay. Just about finds a way in front of Atwood as they head out of turn 2 and down the backstretch. Ricky Hendrick, Jeff Green, holding transfer spots in the 02 and the 29 at the moment. The 45 of Ranger in the last transfer spot, the third transfer spot. McCumbee a couple rows behind him, a race-in car in the 7. "20 laps to go in duel number 2. A pit stop looming for the race leaders in about 10 to 15 laps. Duel 1 went completely green. It remains to be seen if that will be the case in Duel 2. Coleman down the backstretch. Ricky Hendrick going to jump underneath of the 77 for the 3rd position. Atwood stays put in 2nd. Gap from 4th to 5th. That's Jeff Green in the 29, who can't quite keep pace with the 02 or the 77 as Bodine finds a way back down behind the 02. Top 3 break away a little bit. Hendrick trying to get aggressive again. Moves underneath of Atwood for the 2nd spot. Bodine going with him. But he's going to pull the fast one that Hendrick pulled on him the lap before and forces the 02 But here comes Jeff Green on the bottom of 3 wide. Coleman loving this in his mirror. About a 2 or 3 car length lead for the 6 off into turn 1 as Green gets taken 3 wide up the middle. Steckley in the 23, chasing after his former car. But instead it's Ambrose underneath of him. They continue to dogfight for second place as Coleman continues to lead by almost 5 car lengths. Ambrose pulling up to the back bumper of the 6. Almost had the speed to make a move, but just couldn't quite get the nose underneath. Hamlin in the 25, underneath of Ranger for 3rd. Greg Biffle with him in the 16. Haven't had a chance to mention him yet. Was in the top 5 earlier in this race. But didn't get much further than 5th or 4th place. 1 car out of the draft. Jack Sprague, along with Rains, who lost the draft a handful of laps ago. Ambrose trying to find a run up to the back of the 6 of Coleman down the back stretch. Biffle underneath of Hamlin, and Ambrose takes that chance to go underneath the 6 and finally take away the lead from that 6 car. Coleman a strong run up front, but it can't last forever, and Ambrose is going to try to retake that lead, and he's going to have it out of turn 4. Biffle underneath of his teammate with the 13. Reed Sorensen on the bottom. Todd Cleaver in the 98 finds his way towards the front. '96 in a transfer spot at the moment. By far the highest transfer car. 51 and 7. No, pardon me, 45. Currently holding transfer spots at the moment. The 7 and the 45 stuck up on the top. Ambrose filtered to the high side. As Biffle putting the side draft hard on that 13 as he tries to take the lead with 15 to go. Biffle now in control of the field. Sorensen forced to the top by Cleaver in the 98. Recently switched from the Yates to the Roush camp, did that 98 team, and follows through behind his Alliance teammate. But got 2 Alliance teammates directly behind in the form of Kane and Todd Bodine. Out of turn 2 and down the backstretch. Cleaver up to the back of Biffle. And Kane is going to move down low underneath of the 98. Norris forces the 77 high. Couple of cars 3 wide in the midfield once again. Kane trying to find a way underneath a Biffle in a hurry, and he made it work. Another aggressive move from Kane in tonight's race. And issues for Labonte. I believe that is. Might have a tire going down. And he does. And that is going to be big issues with a lot of cars on the apron, and the caution flag is going to come out. First caution in duel number 2, and in the duels in general. Racing back to the line, Kasey Kahne has the lead over Greg Biffle. Tire goes down for Labonte, and we are under caution here tonight for the first time. Kane finds his way into the lead. Labonte had that tire going down and got a little squirrely there on the backstretch. Was lucky he found a way to the apron and that nobody wrecked behind him. There were so many cars on the apron thanks to the pandemonium from Labonte getting checked up in front of the field. But we are now under caution here in Daytona. It'll be inside 10 to go when we hit pit road here. And when we restart, a little bit less than that. We've seen how restarts can split the field up at this racetrack, so things might get complicated here. Although we might have a couple cars stay out. And it's looking like that might be the case for a lot of the field. And Kane is going to be one of them. I'm surprised by that move. But Sadler leads the pitters in. Kane retains the lead. Inside 10 to go here from Daytona. It's Kasey Kahne in the 12th car in the race lead here from duel number 2. We'll take you to intermission. It's NASCAR on ESPN, and we will be right back. Back from intermission here at Daytona, and we will see if the late race yellow flag brings enough fuel up for these guys to make it to the end of the race. It's going to be tight. You would have to imagine Kane is going to lead the field out of turn 4 to the restart here. It's Kane, Biffle, Norris, Keselowski, and Bodine. The 51 currently holding a transfer spot, as well as Sorensen in this 96, and then Jeff Green in the 29 has a transfer spot himself. Pace car in on the left, Kane into the restart box. Green flag is in the air. Racing towards turn number 1, top 2. Breakaway as Keselowski's going to get aggressive with the 51, who was absolutely nowhere on the start. Biffle underneath of Kane for the race lead. And it's looking like there is not going to be enough fuel in the tank for any of the drivers who stayed out. I am baffled by that strategy decision. Biffle and Kane come in. Couple of race-in cars were members of that group, Sorensen and the 29 of Jeff Green. Keselowski in the 2 has taken away the lead. B5 to go this time here from Daytona. Top 3 have broken away, but I do believe some of these guys are also going to be pitters here. And it's going to be all 3 of them. Kyle Busch takes away the lead with 5 to go. Norris out of the picture now as well. Ricky Hendrick with a transfer spot. Ranger has one as well. 71 and 49 and 7 also racing for 1. Lap cars leaving pit road in front with 5 laps to go. Another one coming in at Steckley. Pack split in 2. Ricky Hendricks got the lead with 4 laps left. Traffic ahead for the leaders. Coleman the 6 up in front. Ricky Hendrick will jump underneath the him as the rest of the leaders follow suit. Coleman falls down. Hendricks got the lead on the field. Down the front stretch, taking 3 to go. Hendricks, Sprague, and Wood all holding... Ranger in the second transfer spot in that 45 car. Sprague's got the last spot in, as well as Wood. Goodness me. Down the backstretch, single file. 7 car also fell out, had to take a pit stop. Ranger side by side with Bobby Labonte for the 3rd position. 2 laps left at the line. Ranger might fall out of it. John Wood and Jack Sprague both passing him on the bottom. Labonte trying to take away 2nd place with 2 to go. Hendricks still in the lead. Traffic ahead. Labonte trying to find a way underneath the Hendrick. The 0-2 covers him off. Hendrick almost got blocked by the 29 of green. Coming to the white flag, it's Bobby Labonte and Ricky Hendrick. John Wood in the mix in 3rd. Ranger's got a transfer spot, so does the 71. As they fight for that position. White flag in the air, 1 time around here at Daytona. Hendrick and Labonte dueling for the win in duel number 2. Atwood almost underneath the 18. Gives a line teammate the Haas CNC 00 in front. Can Hendrick get down low? He will. Labonte trying to find a way up the middle. No room for him. Atwood on the bottom. Ricky Hendrick, one of the race-in cars for Penske, qualified 44th fastest. Out of turn 4 for the final time. Can Atwood out-drag him to the line? They're going to be side by side down to the stripe, but Ricky Hendrick wins in duel 2. Ranger advances. And it'll be the 49 of John Wood by just 3 hundredths over the 71 car. A wacky conclusion to duel number 2. And the finish between the 49 and the 71 for that final transfer spot, just a half a car length, John Wood puts the BAM 49 in the show. Ricky Hendrick advances. Andrew Ranger in the 45 in the show. And the 49 of John Wood. But it's Ricky Hendrick, one of the race-in cars for Penske. No provisional in this week. A rough qualifying on Friday night. And Ricky Hendrick, his first race with Penske Racing, wins it here at Daytona in Duel 2. But that'll do it for coverage here from Daytona as Ricky Hendrick advances into the Daytona 500 with his Duel 2 win. Casey Atwood comes up just short in that 30 car as next time out, it'll be the big show. 100 laps from Daytona in the Daytona 500 coming your way this weekend. But I've been your host, Caden Reif. It's been a pleasure to have you along as always, and we will see you next time. And as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.